So I know this happened like a couple weeks ago, but Curry broke the three-point record all time already. And it got me wondering, who are the best three-point shooters of all time? I want to go into NBA 2K22, look at the top 10 players that had the highest three-point ratings in NBA history, and break it all down. But before the video starts, please be an OG, join the pack and subscribe, leave a like on the video, helps the channel grow. And yeah, I do content like this all the time, so it'd be cool if you could join up, all right? One little disclaimer here is that I'm not doing all-time team players because there's 20 players that have a 99 overall rating. This is just players on specific teams and the three-point rating, okay? So we'll cover that. Starting at number 10, we have Steve Nash. Now this is specifically the 05 Steve Nash, but Steve Nash was known as a great three-point shooter for a long time. He was a 92 overall three-point rating, which is one of the greatest of all time. Steve Nash is funny because he even mentioned a long time ago, he was like, if I had shot more threes in my career and I'd pushed that meta early on, I probably would have won some championships. And he's probably right. He'd realize, if I had just been more of a threat and I had just thrown the threes up, he would have been fantastic. Now, when you look at his rating for a career, he shot 42% from three and almost 90% from the free throw line. So definitely if Steve Nash is shooting more than 3 attempts for three every single game, he would have had an even greater career. But still, the 10th greatest three-point shooter of all time, and especially compared to an era now where there's so many great three-point shooters, that is really impressive if you think about it. The next player at number 9 is Hubert Davis on the 1995 New York Knicks. Hubert Davis has a 93 three-point rating. Now, this is obviously the oldest, when you go back in time, the oldest player with the highest rating, right? Interesting situation. So he did have a crazy field goal percentage of a 43% from the field, which, by the way, is one of the greatest of all time, right? But the man just didn't shoot that much, right? And there's another player that is a great example of that too. But Hubert, at the end of the day, was a shooter that when he shot the ball, when he was wide open, that shit probably went in. It's just that, they were shooting 1 or 2 threes a game back then, not 8 or 9 like Curry is, for example, today. But still, at the end of the day, at his time, this dude was a marksman, and if he was wide open, you probably knew that shot was going in. Now, this next player at number 8 is Steve Novak on the 2012 New York Knicks. Steve Novak had a little stretch there where that dude was getting buckets. All right, Steve Novak, 94 rating. He was shooting for a career 43.6% from the field from three. He only averaged 5 points per game, so he was another one of those players that only really shot a couple shots. But with the Knicks that season, he was making 9 points per game. They were probably all 3-pointers. This dude was a sniper that season. Steve Novak was kind of dirty. He was so good. He was enough to be 8th all time in three-point shooting according to 2K. Right now, do I think Steve Novak is a better shooter than Kevin Durant? No, right? But was he a better marksman, wide open, and as a role player? Sure, maybe he was. This next player is going to come to a surprise. At number 7, it is JJ Redick. Also a 94 three-point shooting rating, but he had more badges, so that's why he's higher. Yeah, dude, JJ Redick, we already know, is an amazing three-point shooter. One of the greatest college players of all time, first of all, right? And then ended up shooting for his career so far, a 39% from three. But the difference between JJ Redick and all the players I just mentioned is that JJ was shooting 6 threes a game, and he was hitting most of them. And not only was he shooting these shots, he was creating these shots. JJ Redick isn't just a catch-and-shoot three-point shooter. This man would run all around the court. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Patty Mills, and he would get that three-point shot off somehow, some way. It's kind of crazy. He's one of the best three-point shooters of our generation, right? Not not the 90s, but the 2010s, right? So really cool player, a great scorer, and was an amazing three-point shooter. At number 6, we have Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was a great three-point shooter, 95 overall. He was only shooting 1 3 a game, but when he shot him, 48% from 3 for his career. That is the greatest three-point field goal percentage of all time. Again, Steve Kerr was not a shot creator. Steve Kerr didn't shoot a lot. Steve Kerr didn't average a lot of points. But if this man was wide open, that man hit the shot. Steve Kerr knew his role, and he was one of the best of all time at it. If Steve Kerr was open, that shot was going in. And you knew that. So that's why he's here easily. Now at number 5, we have Peja Stojakovic. You have no clue how many games Peja has won me in 2K. Whenever I play friends or family or anybody in 2K just for casual play, I don't know why Peja's dirty. He just is. He gets threes off and he greens it so easy. Peja was kind of ahead of his time. He was the big man shooting threes, 96 overall three-point shooting rating. And when you look at his field goal percentage for three, it was a 38.6%. But he had some seasons where he was shooting 42, and he was shooting him at a very high volume. When you look back, I think this is probably the first guy that was shooting threes at a high volume and hitting them. Maybe there's a couple names I could think of before that, but as a big man, as a small forward, he was probably the first. So props to him. Amazing shooter over time. Really fun to use in 2K because he just greens everything. Yeah, he's crazy. Now, I don't think I have to talk much about this man, but here's Larry Legend, Larry Bird, 96 overall. So you know what I just said about Peja? He was kind of like the forefather of that kind of player, right? I mean, obviously, Larry Bird was way better, right? But even though Larry Bird shot 36% from three, which at the time was crazy, you got to remember that for most of his career, he was only shooting like 2 threes a game and only making like 1 a game. And sometimes he was shooting 3 threes a game. So he wasn't really shooting at an extremely high volume. But at the time, a big man, a small forward in the 80s, creating his own three-point shot and shooting at 36% was like mind-blowing. Now, compared to now, obviously, we wouldn't say he's a 96 three-point rating. But comparing to the time that he played, he was a crazy scorer. And again, the difference between Larry Bird and everyone else on this list, in fact, literally everyone else on this list, is that Larry Bird was a small forward, power forward, who would create his own shot. Not like a guard creating his own shot, but a big man doing it. He is the only one on this list that was like that. Now, obviously, there's players now like, for example, Kevin Durant doing it, but at the time, he was the only one, and he was the only one for decades. Now, this next player at number 3 is Ray Allen, 97 overall. Yeah, Ray Allen's only third. You know, in my personal list, I might have him second, but it's a debatable one. So Ray Allen, 97 overall three-point shooting rating. He also had almost a 40% from three for his entire career, which is impressive because not only did he have a 40%, but he shot a lot. Now, he could create his own three, but he was for the most part, a catch and shoot kind of three-point shooter. But even then, he was kind of the first guy. He was like the first glimpse into the modern NBA of shooting a lot of threes. I mean, he shot a lot at the time. It was unheard of to shoot as many threes as he was shooting, right? And not only was he shooting that many, but he was making a lot of them, and tough ones too. He was kind of the first guy to show us where basketball was going, right? And Ray Allen, not only was he a good three-point shooter, that's not what he only was. He had a couple seasons where he almost led the Bucks to a finals, right? So like he was not only a role player, but he was also at times an all-star, borderline superstar at times. Ray Allen was an amazing NBA player, the greatest three-point shooter of all time for a couple years. And so, you know, 2 other players that we're about to mention, but he was amazing and changed the game. These next 2 players will come to a surprise to no one. At number 2, it is Klay Thompson, who also has a 97 overall three-point rating. However, Klay Thompson had way more shooting badges than Ray Allen, therefore I have him above him, right? Klay Thompson for his entire career is shooting 42% from the three-point line. 42%. At a ridiculous rate. In fact, statistically, he does what Ray Allen was doing, but way better. Shooting more threes, hitting more of them. To be fair, he probably does deserve to be higher than Ray Allen here. I mean, he's ridiculous. It is exciting that he's coming back really soon to this current Warriors team that is terrifying already, and he is looking like maybe the greatest three-point shooter of all time. However, there is one other player that probably edges over him. So number 1, Steph Curry, 99 overall three, meaning he's not only the greatest three-point shooter of all time, but by a margin, right? Steph Curry. The thing about Steph Curry is that not only can he do catch and shoot threes, not only can he create his own shot, not only does he shoot a lot of threes, but it is an extreme efficiency. Shooting a career 44.4% from three, shooting more threes than anybody, shooting harder threes than anybody, shooting farther threes from anybody. No one is comparable. I don't think anybody in basketball history is better at something more than Steph Curry is at three-point shooting. Maybe it was Shaq in the post, but like maybe. But like Steph Curry is not only the best three-point shooter ever, I wouldn't be surprised if he is the greatest three-point shooter who will ever live from the rest of history. He's that good, right? Now that is everyone on this list. What do you think about the list? I think for the most part this was an okay one. Obviously there's players like Kevin Durant that should probably be here, or James Harden that should probably be here, right? But if you look at it as efficiency wise, maybe this list is okay. Let me know in the comments below. If you like the channel, please give it a sub. I'll see you guys next time.